You're good at that. Yeah, it's what I do.
Director Manhouse, if we could get order in the boardroom. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the regular board meeting for Wednesday, September 25th, 2024. Before we begin, I'd like to recognize with gratitude that the CVRD is on the unceded territories of the Kwatsan, Malahat, Subasat, Halalt, Penelakut, Staminas, Layaxan, Palkachin, Dididat, and Pachidat nations, whose people have walked gently here for thousands of years. I do also want to recognize with that showing respect for the territory that it is National Truth and Reconciliation Day this coming Monday, September 30th. And I do hope that you will take the opportunity to, in your own way, honor the day and show the respect for the nations whose unceded lands we occupy. And hopefully, if you're able, take in an event in your community, or there's a lot of great programming both online and on cable television on the day about our troubled history and how we work together with the First Nations, but also some really hopeful progress that's being made as we walk the path of reconciliation together. So with that, we'll call the meeting to order. Ms. Boyd, I will hand it over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Approval of the agenda as amended to add CR4. This would be the committee of the whole report from this morning. There's one recommendation on there.
Moved by Director Staples, seconded by Director Abbott. All those in favor? None opposed. Motion carries. Ms. Boyd.
Thank you, Chair. Adoption of the minutes from the regular board meeting of September 11th, 2024 be adopted.
Director Abbott's filling in for Director Martman today. Director Abbott.
I would like to move and make a grave observation that under Resolution 1, there's an additional L in the word Hillary. It's
With the correction, those minutes are moved by Director Abbott, filling in for Director Martman today as our eagle eyes, seconded by Director McClinton. Any further discussion or errors or omissions to be noted? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries.
No business arising from the minute. We move to the public input period. The public input period is to offer the public an opportunity to comment on agenda items before the board considers the item. The public input period procedure policy allows for an allotment of 15 minutes where the speaker is welcome to comment on any items on the agenda up to a maximum of 3 minutes. This excludes items that or have been subject to a public hearing. Input from the community is valued and appreciated. We request that input is presented in a friendly and respectful manner. Your cooperation in maintaining a safe, respectful, and orderly environment is greatly appreciated.
And to shorten that, just be nice. Welcome, Ms. Bernard.
Thank you, Chair Stone. Aisquail Siamnisiea Notsamat Squalawan. It's such a privilege to be here and move forward together, especially for SR3, which is the boardroom renovation project. So I can speak confidently from the public's perspective, having visited the meetings on numerous occasions, and I'm excited about this project. So particularly, I'm going to speak to the strategic business plan considerations on page 5. It says, redesigning the boardroom into a safe space that can improve public engagement is a feature of the theme of our commitments. Additionally, under this theme, there are objectives around being an employer of choice, or I would say also a host to the public. Reducing crowding and creating safe, welcoming spaces for learning and better decision-making have the added benefit of supporting retention, recruitment, and I would also say participation, because I really feel that creating a warm space for all, including our Indigenous friends, would include, which I've asked for before, the gift of water. So the gift of water for all attendees, I think, would be a lovely gesture, and I'd like to see that hopefully included, or at least the consideration of it, please, to be included in the planning, because right now there's there exists a very visible and physical barrier with water only offered on this side. And I think it would be, again, just an incredibly generous gesture to offer water. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public input, either online or written? Ms. Boyd?
Nope, moving forward. There's no delegations. We'll expedite up to 9. Committee commission reports, CR1, report from recommendations from the governance committee meeting of September 4th, 2024. Director Segal.
Director Segal.
Thank you. Your governance committee would like to make 3 recommendations. Do I read them all out? Or, I guess, 2 recommendations. R1 has 2 parts. Number 1, that the updated public input period policy be adopted. And 2, that the updated question period policy be adopted. And R2, that the updated position descriptions for board chair and vice chair, committee chairs, vice chairs, electoral area directors, and municipal directors be adopted with the addition of reference in all position descriptions to directors' roles during an emergency, including communications. I move those recommendations.
Moved by Director Segal, seconded by Director Istash. 2 directors have had trout mubbles with their names in the past. Thank you for that. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries.
CR2, report and recommendations from the committee of the whole meeting of September 11th, 2024. Director Segal.
Yeah, it's okay. So 1 recommendation, that the Cowichan Valley Regional District enter into an encroachment agreement with the Corporation of the District of North Cowichan for the placement and maintenance of transit work such as standalone transit benches, transit shelters, and standalone bus stop signs as identified within the agreement. I would move that motion.
Moved by Director Segal, seconded by Director Abbott. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries.
CR3, report and recommendations from the Cowichan Core Recreation Commission meeting of September 12th, 2024. Director Abbott.
As Vice Chair of the Cowichan Core Recreation Commission, I'm pleased to report and recommend as follows that the 2024 budget for Function F426 Cowichan Performing Arts Center be amended to accommodate necessary equipment repairs that are required for theater operations by 1, increasing the capital improvement fund by $5,000, and 2, increasing capital furniture, fixtures, equipment by $5,000. I so move.
Moved by Director Abbott, seconded by Director Nicholson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries.
CR4, Committee of the Whole, September 25th, 2024. Director Segal.
Thank you. That this morning's Committee of the Whole recommends that the following 2 Cowichan Community Center facility capital projects and their corresponding 2025 budgets be approved prior to the 2025 budget adoption. 1, Phase 3 roof replacement for $1.5 million, and 2, arena ice plant condenser replacement for $300,000. Moved.
Moved by Director Segal, seconded by Director Acton. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries.
Moving to number 11, staff reports, SR1, report from the Finance Division regarding the 2025 Revenue Anticipation Borrowing Bylaw 4606.
Just here for questions, Ms. Bowen? Or do you want to just remind us that this is an annual affair?
Yes. Through the chair to the board, yes, it's just, we have to do this every year. It's just if we anticipate that we have to borrow before we get our tax money in August, that we have this set up and we have to send it to the bank and to MFA.
So looking for a mover. Moved by Director Nicholson, seconded by Director Abbott. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries.
SR2, report from the Finance Division, approval of short-term borrowing for 2024.
Okay, that's a long recommendation. I'm not going to require anybody to read it. It's been published in the package and not amended prior to the meeting. I'll just open the floor to questions to Ms. Bowen, unless Ms. Bowen, you want to give us any Coles Notes highlights, or if you're just here for questions.
Through the chair to the board, this is just another procedural thing that we have to do in order for us to borrow. It's part of the budget process. You've already approved these in the budget to be, for the purchases to be done. This just now gives us the authority to borrow from MFA.
Thank you. So looking for a motion. Director Abbott? Moved, seconded by Director McClinton. Any discussion? Director Wilson?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I do anticipate there may be a request from Area C for short-term borrowing, but this may be, perhaps Tracy can help me out here. When would that come forward? And I think we've talked about the possibility of Area C borrowing short-term. Is that likely to come forward in the next couple of months? Because we will need the money for next year, or possibly even this year.
Ms. Bowen?
I think you know.
Through the chair to Director Wilson. So this is just for stuff that was already approved in the 2024 budget. Anything that's for the 2025 budget, we won't be able to borrow because paying it back is with regards to requisition changes. So if there was to be a change and you would like it to be done this year, we'd have to amend the budget. We'd have to work with the Parks Division on that, and we'd have to have it in before I think it's November 13th is the last day that we can have anything through for me to do our new bylaw for the 5-year financial plan. At the end of,
Okay.
Yeah, so it'd have to be within the next couple of weeks.
All right, I better work with Parks on that one, because my understanding was that it was coming forward so that we could borrow the money and have the project on the move for completion next year.
Okay, I would follow up with Parks offline, Director Wilson.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Bowen.
SR3, staff report from the Information Technology Division regarding the budget approval, boardroom renovation project technology upgrade.
Hey, Ms. Mohan? Is your microphone on?
There we go.
Man, we got to get better mics in here. But
Yes, that's exactly right.
should we break the live stream now just for fun?
No, let's not do that.
It's not actually working right now, is it, Rosa? Nothing. I was joking about technology. I was trying to put a finer point on this staff report.
Before we get going with the report, though, I would like just to take this opportunity to introduce our new IT manager to the board. So this is Tom Rotoler. He started with us at the end of August, and Tom comes to us with a wealth of local government IT experience. He spent the bulk of his career at the City of Nanaimo, where he started like on the ground floor in technical support, and over his career ended up in the senior-most position as the director of the IT division. He had since moved on to the Mid-Island Co-op, where he spent the last few years building their IT department, and then now he's come to us. And just a little tidbit about Tom, in his off-work time, he runs a small farm, so his farming is one of his passions. So, and he's going to present the report to you.
Thank you. Sorry, can we get your last name again, Mr.
Rotoler.
Rotoler?
Rotoler, yeah.
Okay, I think I got that.
Yeah.
Luckily for you, the guy who mispronounces everybody's names is leaving after this meeting, so please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Sohn. Thank you very much for that introduction, General Manager Mohan. And also just wanted to thank you for making me feel so welcome here in this organization and feeling like a part of the team, and looking forward to the future together. The report in front of you here is, sorry, glasses are a new thing. The purpose of this report is to request the budget approval for the boardroom audiovisual system and web streaming upgrade. The recommended resolution is that the 2024 budget for Function 100 General Government be amended by an increase to transfer from reserves of $240,000 and an increase to capital expense of $240,000. I just wonder if there's any questions.
Thank you. Before I see hands, I do want to say, as a fellow IT professional in a soon-to-be former life, I do want to say that the upgrades are definitely needed. We've chewing gum and tinfoiled this thing together for more than long enough. I'm sure you've heard that from many people within the organization. Though I will say that at first glance, I thought, there's a lot here. It felt very Cadillac-y to me, maybe even BMW or something on the higher end, but I guess my only question would be, one of the principles of reliable IT is keep it as simple as possible. With the level of sophistication, I guess, with what's proposed here? Do you have any concerns about reliability and the ability to have good reliability through redundancy, where any breakdown in things like a touch screen for control of speakers lists would able to be easily bypassed? Because frankly, managing speakers list, I don't think is one of our primary concerns. It's more reliability of the product and the quality for the end users, both around the table, but those also joining at home.
Great, thank you. Good question, Chair Stone. Yeah, from what I've gathered, for sure there's been some reliability issues over the last while. It's been really frustrating to use the system as it is. Some of the key reasons why is the equipment that you have is end of life. It doesn't, it's not no longer supported. So one of the key aspects of this is to increase that reliability. So it's being replaced from the ground up. That's new wiring, new cameras, speakers, televisions, audio switching equipment, everything's going to be replaced. So that will definitely help. The other part we're going to be looking for is enhanced support through a service level agreement with the partner that we choose. And so we'll have some estimated times when they're going to be here. We're going to basically write that in the contract that we'll have support as best as possible. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. I'll go to my colleagues. Director Douglas.
I think Director Wilson had his hand up for a while.
Okay.
Can we?
I thought he was just leaving it up from the last one, trying to jump in the queue, so I'll go to him right after you, Director Douglas.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, through you to Mr. I'm going to try to pronounce your name right. Roteller?
Roteller.
I'm going to get it right next time.
That's okay, yes, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I really appreciate the report, and as the chair mentioned, we have had some major issues with reliability of the technology over the last couple of years, which has resulted meetings starting later than we'd like, and challenges with microphones and kind of disrupting the flow of the discussion. So it's great to see that there's a plan to make these much needed investments. I do share the chair's concern, though, that this may be a bit more the Cadillac option than I'm comfortable with at this time. I realize that with an organization of this size, the $240,000 expenditure in the great scheme of things isn't going to be a huge amount of money per taxpayer, but I do worry about the optics with a lot of our residents struggling with the cost of living, and then for us to be investing in this pretty high-end technology that I do recognize there would be significant benefits with the multiple screens and the cameras and the special touch screen for the chair. But I think my preference would be to make an investment, but to look at perhaps some simpler and more lower cost options that'll get us that real reliability, but without some of the technology as proposed. But do want to acknowledge the analysis that went into this, and thank you for bringing this forward to the board.
Through the chair to Director Douglas, thank you.
Looking around the table, I have Director Wilson next, and then Director Acton and Staples. Director Wilson? You're still muted. Are you trying to play games with us, Mike? Can you get unmuted? He's having mic issues?
Mute me. Okay.
There you go.
I found the right button. Blooming things. Yeah, I've heard the word Cadillac and BMW and all the rest of it, and this is where my concerns come in here. I can't approve anything along these lines until I have more information on this, Mr. Roteller, because I've looked at the cameras. There's 6 of them. I kind of priced them up as well, this particular type of camera. They're very good, we know that. But there's also 7 TVs, 4K TVs as well. There's no specs on those. Are they going to cost $10,000 each? I can't see where the figure of $240,000 comes from. And until I have more information on the technical specs and everything else that we're going to be buying, then I would have to say, no, this can't go forward as is right now. Are we looking at OLEDs? Are we looking at, the top of the line cameras for $10,000 each? What are we looking at here, please?
Through to staff.
Thank you, Director Wilson, and through the chair to Director Wilson and the board. So the process for I guess I just want to remind sort of how this process has unfolded. So we did bring a generalized report to the board in the spring around total renovations for this room, including the technology. And the promise at the time was we gave sort of a high-level view and we'd come back with detailed quotes. So because of the urgency around the failure of this equipment and the reliability of the equipment, instead of bringing you a detailed quote in advance, we did a feedback session to kind of get your criteria for what you needed for the replacement of the technology, and then we went straight to RFP. So when we go to RFP in this organization, we don't usually bring the spec, like the detailed specs and the proposals and the, you know, the nature of the successful proponent's bid, et cetera, to the board. That generally all flows through our procurement policy and our staff decisions. So what we did is we took the criteria from the feedback session to formulate the RFP. I will say that in terms of it being sort of a Cadillac solution versus a basic solution, the focus for us in this RFP wasn't so much around that question as opposed to our ability to expand the system going forward and replace things easily and provide for functionality in the future, because the pace of change in technology is high, and we ended up in this position because we couldn't keep up fast enough with the replacement of things. So we've opted to spend a little bit more just to make sure that we have future-proofed this solution for as long as possible for the board. So we did not anticipate bringing the detailed specs from the different proponents' bids back to this table for analysis. So.
You follow up, please, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Yeah. This is a tough one. I understand the need for future proofing, et cetera, and all the rest of it. But in this particular case, I don't honestly see the urgency. And I'm just looking through attachment B there, which is the feedback that we were looking at. There is nothing there on the number of cameras. There's nothing there about the number of TVs. There's nothing there in any great detail. It's just notes. It doesn't mean anything to me. I'm sorry it's not meant as criticism. It's just what I'm seeing here right now. To $250,000, this is a lot of money. And I just don't understand where this sudden urgency has come. Yeah, it's reached the end of the line. But at the same time, we have the time to look in this more carefully. I would like to see much more detailed information before I go ahead. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. But I have Directors Acton, Staples, and McClinton on my list, and Director Morrison, sorry, I just saw you online. I do want to just reflect on that these are operational decisions, those finer details. And although I bemoan not having those details sometimes, I do respect that that's not our lane, and we should try and stay within the policy and budget lane. But that's my perspective.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
yours,
this is taxpayers' money we're talking about, and I'm not straying outside the lines here and trying to protect those taxpayers' money.
Yeah, you're out of order, Director Wilson. You're happy to put up your hand for the next round, but you'd finished speaking, and I was just going to the next speaker on my list. But I appreciate perspective. I'm just sharing my own. Director Acton, Staples, McClinton, and Morrison.
Thank you. Thanks for your comment, Chair. That it feels a little operational, but it does also feel a little expensive for an upgrade. And I don't even know, I don't feel confident that it would future-proof us, that it wouldn't suddenly be obsolete. So I'm just wondering, like, could we have a $100,000 option? What would that look like? Or so then we could have a choice maybe. Because yeah, $250,000 seems like a lot to. And I guess my second, so that's just a comment, but my question is, what if, are we copying another regional district in how they do it? Because that would maybe be great kind of proof that it works. Because actually at this table, I've been a part of many technology decisions that suddenly didn't work, whether it was like the recreation software or other items that, you know, it's always a struggle. So I guess like, it would be great if we were just copying same for same, then we know it's going to work and probably has 5 years shelf life or something. Because I think to believe that it's any longer than that. I don't know what the industry standard is, but I bet you no one here is using a laptop that's 5 years old. So,
Mine's 8 years old. Through to you though. But yes, I do, mine's getting long in the tooth.
Thank you, Director Action. Through the chair, we didn't do a direct comparison of technology systems. What I can say is that in going to market for this proposal, we found out that there's like a huge number of local governments going to RFP right now to upgrade their technology post-COVID. So we're certainly not alone in that category, which means it's hard to find comparables to someone who's already upgraded their system, because a lot of people are doing the same exercise that we are doing. The other thing I can offer is that we did, because we were without an IT manager, we did engage some contract assistance in developing the RFP, and that person had experience doing a similar RFP through the Regional District of Nanaimo. So in that sense, we were working with someone who'd had some experience developing an RFP solution for this kind of boardroom technology renovation.
Thank you. Director Staples, then McClinton and Morrison.
Thank you. I'm going to do my best to stay away from speaking about cars in this. But one of the things about this, what the city went through when I was trying to find it, but I haven't been able to yet, when we went through having to do some upgrades during the pandemic, there was such an increase in demand for new systems that the prices were literally rising week by week as we were looking, and I remember having those conversations. So unfortunately, this is the new existence of the costing of these types of programs, and I think that, you know, in order to, it seems like a lot, and I know it seemed like a lot when when we had to do ours as well, and we haven't even fully completed everything. And we kind of went for like a more mid option, and I would not suggest that we do that, because in the time that it takes staff, like every time that there's a technician or someone here, how much now are we paying that person to do this? Right? That's just one example. When we have failed systems, how much time and what is the cost associated with that? And we're still dealing with, you know, hiccups in our system. It's much better now, but I certainly would not advise that that's how we move forward. I feel like I trust the process that that staff has gone through to get to this place, and that it is technology is the cost has increased exponentially. And I think it's most likely the demand, because of the demand, that those increases seem to have skyrocketed. And so, but we have to do this in order to be functional. And I'm hoping that we get to a place where we are more functional, because with Chair Stone leaving, we don't have that extra bit of technology support, you know, that we're used to having. And the system is very outdated. And it is, I think that this is, you know, reasonable in the times that we're in. I don't think it's reasonable at all, but it's reasonable given the times that we're in. And I don't think that we should be looking at something less than what we're starting at.
Thank you. I have Director McClinton and then Morrison.
Thank you, Chair. I do have a question, but yeah, a couple comments first. I'd agree, you know, in our governance, we had a workshop, you know, when you're talking about a garbage truck, it's probably operations, and you're talking about a fleet, maybe it's more policy. So I'd agree with Mayor Staples that this is, in my opinion, I'm almost reminded of the Premier's or the Prime Minister's residence in Canadian. The politicians have been loath to put any money into it for the last 100 years, and now nobody can even live in it. You know, and this is, I think, critical to the role that we do here. It's, you know, I certainly think that folks at home watching this would appreciate proper cameras where we're not, you know, staring through a laptop. And then also, you know, it's not just the hardware, it's pulling the wire, putting everything into place. So while it may seem a little bit high, I think this is an investment in the work, you know, being transparent for the people, and I'll be supporting this. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, my question is, and if I missed it, I apologize. What is the lifespan of the like, what's the rough timeline that we'd expect for it to be in operation?
Through the chair to Director McClinton. It's a good question. We're anticipating probably around 5 to 7 years. I mean, I'd have to go back to manufacturers, but the warranted, some of the equipment is warranted right to 5 years, and there's probably extended warranties you can do, but they'll be covered by the service level agreement.
But how long do we expect it to be useful for?
Great question. Obviously, technology is changing daily. To anticipate in 5 years what the room's going to need, there's going to be some physical changes to this room. So some of the flexibility we built in is expandability. So we can add up to, I think it's 50 microphones. The number of cameras can be expanded. The licensing can be changed. So if we want to do voting on the actual microphones or securely voting from home, those are the options we can add later to extend that lifespan.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mohan?
Yeah, if I may add, so one of the things this year and the previous year has taught us about technology is that the level of expenditure really necessitates it being managed through our asset management program, because we need to start making regular contributions so that when replacement has to happen, that there's not an unanticipated hit to our budget, that we're smoothing that expenditure. So definitely that's what we'll be working on next, before the next replacement, is how will we be saving up for that replacement in a responsible manner so that it's not such a big one-time hit every time it has to be replaced. So.
Thank you. Just a reminder, we have no motion on the floor, but I'll go to Director Morrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I learned something new today, too, that the duct tape and baling wire analogy for IT is bubble gum and tinfoil. So that's a new
MacGyver.
one.
Please, Director Morrison.
Okay, fair enough. I'm sitting here, and maybe it's because I'm not in the room, but I'm a little surprised that the sort of the nature of the in-depth and operational discussion that we're having here, because I think staff did essentially what we asked them to do. They got us together in a room and they said, what do the folks want? And I think a good means of interaction with the community, whether they be online or whether they be in the audience, was a priority. We asked them to go away and do their best work to design and come up with what it is that they thought that they heard from us upon reflection from that meeting. And none of us, save for our outgoing Chair Stone and maybe Jesse or Director McClinton, have a lot of expertise in this area. So, again, this is one of these where we've asked staff to go away and provide us with what we asked for. And essentially we did. Now, I think it's a bit of a challenge for us to say, after all of this work has gone and been done, that we were just kidding. We wanted a low, medium, and high-priced option, because we didn't do that. We asked them to go away and design and get what it is that we wanted for the best possible interaction with the community. So I'm comfortable with the advice of our professionals. And one of the things that I know from, being here a while is a lot of the technology, if you go for that mid-range, and I'm going to throw the car analogy in, if you go for that mid-range, you're going to get less reliability and less longevity than you would if you get a properly designed current technology system that is being recommended here. So yes, I'd prefer a Toyota for their longevity. But at this point, staff have come up with what we've asked them to do. And yes, we all have that responsibility to mind every taxpayer dollar that we tax. But this is also that question of that interaction with our community and their ability to access and watch and engage to the extent they do with us conducting the business of the community. So I'm comfortable with what they've put forward, and obviously we have to trust our staff, not only with the process that they're going through, but the implementation, and to ensure that they are keeping within that budget. So I'm comfortable, and I would support the resolution if it's moved and seconded. Thank you.
During your discussion, Director McClinton had moved it and Director Segal had seconded it. I see Director Nicholson and Director Manhas want to speak to it. So Director Nicholson.
Thank you. I actually don't want to speak to it. I wanted to ask a question.
Or ask a question.
Okay. I'm just wondering, what is a 4K TV and how does it differ from these ones?
It's high resolution, and these are 1080 TVs, I think. So 4 times the resolution.
So they look better?
Sharper image.
Okay.
It's not smart. That's a different distinction. 4K TVs are essentially 4 times the resolution of a standard high-definition TV. But 4K is now the standard. 8K TVs are coming out in the higher end. Well, it doesn't need to be smart for what we're talking about. That's controlled by the head end of whatever this system is. Director Manhas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I personally would like to have some options, such as, okay, so for option 1, you're getting this, option 2, you're getting this, option 3, you're getting this, then I think we could make a better decision as to what we actually think is sufficient for taxpayers, especially the taxpayers are paying for this, and the needs of this organization. My question is, has the contract been signed, or?
Through the chair to Director Manhas, we're currently evaluating the bids. So the RFP's closed and we're just evaluating those bids.
How many bids have you had so far?
A total of 5.
Total of 5? They're all within this, around that range, I don't know,
Yeah, that's fair. I just want to be careful about.
Yes, yeah.
Feeling
Yeah.
too much about the.
Yeah.
I can assume if staff have asked for this budget allocation, that that's in the framework of what they're looking for.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We do have it moved and seconded. I'm seeing no further hands. I'll call the question. All those in favor and opposed? Director Manhas, Calliou, Douglas, Wilson opposed. Motion carries. Well, the motion carries. We have 4 opposed, and they don't add up to any significant number that would be a weighted vote. That in a weighted vote. Thank you. Motion carries.
You got the names? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mohan and Tom. We're just going to call him Mr. Tom for today. What? Road alert. Road alert. Don't look at it. Calliou? Caillou? Tally-ho, Calliou. Ms. Boyd.
Thank you, Chair. Moving to bylaws, B1, that CVRD bylaw 4535, Lambourne Estates Water System Service Amendment, requisition limit increase $64,375, bylaw 2024 be adopted.
Moved by Director Abbott, seconded by Director Segal. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries.
B2, that CVRD bylaw 4537, Burnham Water System Service Amendment, requisition limit increase $73,750, bylaw 2024 be adopted.
Moved by Director Segal. Seconded by Director Calliou. Tally-ho, Calliou. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries.
B3, that CVRD bylaw 4608, Shawnigan Basin Society Annual Financial Contribution Service bylaw number 3737, repeal bylaw 2024 be granted first, second, and third reading.
Moved by Director Segal, seconded by Director Acton. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries.
B4, that CVRD bylaw 4612, South Cowichan Water Plan Study Service bylaw number 3138, repeal bylaw 2024 be granted for first, second, and third reading.
Moved by Director Segal, seconded by Director Calliou. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. This is Chair's language lesson on his way out the door.
Number 14, these are bylaws for the Actora area directors. BEA 1, that Cowichan Valley Regional District bylaw 4602, official community plan amendment bylaw 3550, Trans-Canada Highway 2024 be granted first, second reading.
Moved by Director Acton, seconded by Director Segal. Damn. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries.
BEA 2, that CVRD bylaw 4603, South Cowichan zoning amendment bylaw, repeat there. Zoning amendment bylaw 3550, Trans-Canada Highway 2024 be granted first and second reading.
Moved by Director Acton, seconded by Director Abbott. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Actually, if it's okay with the board, I'm going to take a little chair's prerogative after we've done question period. A couple of directors asked me for a moment before we close the meeting, and I'd like to say a few words, so we'll go to question period, and then I'm going to take a little chair's prerogative before we close the meeting.
Thank you, Chair. Question period. Do you want me to read it out? Okay.
My question period just says, please be nice. That doesn't mean to not be open and critical if necessary, but please be nice.
Mr. Chair, I would like to inject a little levity. My name is Kim Barnyard without the Y. And I'm wondering if you'll be needing any tips on public engagement now that you're stepping down from your role, as I have 15 ways for the public to get more engaged, and they're posted at my LinkedIn page. Will you be needing those, Mr. Chair?
Please share them with me on LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to have a look.
And I just want to say, on behalf of the public, it's a somber occasion, but also wishing you all the best in your future endeavors, and thank you for your service.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Tucker.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you. Hi, Chika. Director Morrison, you asked for some time. I'm going to give you the time before I close the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is just a reflection of time we've spent around this board table and the discussions that we've had and the interactions and the working together. And it's, I'm not going to say it's a sad day because you're embarking on a new phase, but it is a loss for the organization. And there's different people have come and gone, and quality people, and this organization has been fortunate, I think, in having your service as a director, municipal director, chair, and I'm reflecting on the fact that in this business and in this role as serving our community, I think your community has been well served, and the regional district as a whole has been well served, and I reflect upon the fact that as elected officials with different perspectives coming from different communities, we're not always going to agree on all the things that we do and the work that we do. But I'll note that even though you and I have respectfully disagreed on a number of items, it's been a pleasure to work with you in this environment, because we can disagree and then move on and take on the next task at hand. And you've been open-minded, you've been willing to give people chances and to learn new roles, and you've challenged folks, and there's been some interesting and challenging times that we've served here. And I can say that from my perspective, working with you has made the role of director on the CVRD a more pleasurable one. So with that, it's my honor and pleasure to have served with you, and it's my best wishes for you in the next phase of your life. And thank you for the time that you spent serving in your community. Thanks.
Well, I'll say thanks, and then I'll just ask everyone, how come I never get that kind of applause? But no, Ian, really, thank you very much. I think you characterized our relationship really well, and I just want to say that through it all, I would still consider you a friend. So always welcome to have coffee or lunch or provide whatever useless advice I can along the way. The further I get from it, maybe the less I'll have my finger on the pulse, but definitely won't be far away. I expect to see you at the conferences and join the group whenever I can. I'll go to Director Acton next. Well, I don't like putting people on the spot, but the more people that put their hand up, then the people that don't, I'm going to hold it against them, so. Director Acton.
I promise to be quicker. I'm not quite as eloquent as my Toastmaster, Director Morrison. I just would say thank you from the community of Shawnigan Lake. I know you took a lot of heat for the amazing project that we have had in our community. And without you as the chair, I don't think it would have even happened, because you were one of those key people who took the abuse and knew that it was just right to keep going. So from the community, we say thank you for that.
Thanks, Sierra. Lorna?
Thank you.
Or Director Vomaka?
It's a message from Director McGonigal to you. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person for your final board meeting as chair, but I needed to publicly thank you for your service to Ladysmith, the island, and the regional district in all capacities you participated in. On behalf of Mayor McGonigal and the Council of Lake Cowichan, a huge thank you and the best of luck in the next chapter of your journey.
Thank you very much. Director Douglas? I'm going to save old
Mr. Chair.
Clinton for last.
We were elected at the same time 10 years ago, and started on this board together as new directors, new elected officials a decade ago. And just want to say it's been a pleasure working together. I think you and I have grown together a lot over that time and found a way to really balance some of the priorities in our own communities, our own municipalities, while taking that regional perspective here at the board. And I can say that your leadership is certainly going to be missed, but as Director Morrison was saying, I don't think we should look at this as a sad day. You're starting a new bright chapter in your life, and I think we all wish you the best with that.
Thank you. Jesse? Go ahead. Well, I'll go to Mike. And make sure you speak up, Mike, because I could barely hear you before.
I got it. Anyway, I'm not as eloquent as the rest of them, as you well know. So what they said, plus good stuff. I've enjoyed button heads with you, Aaron. We'll do it some more in the future as we go forward. Good button. Thank you very much. And good luck for the future, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know, Kate and then Karen. Why don't we just go around the table and we can skip? Go ahead.
So I'm just going to say, of course, I'm happy for you, but I'm also very upset. But better cancer with my crab shell block the waterworks. When I first met you at our orientation, I actually didn't really like you that much. You were going off about how EA directors should be. I was kind of like, who is this guy? But then through, sitting at this table with you for the last 2 years, you seem to always be able to put whatever was in my heart or my mind into words in a way that gave me the confidence to really step up. And I'm really gonna miss that. And I'm very sad that you're leaving and wish you all the luck. And if I could give you one piece of advice from a millennial colleague, it's know that you provide so much value wherever you are that you don't have to work all the time. You can take some time to really enjoy all the lovely people that surround you. So good luck.
Thank you. Anyone down this side want to go? Go ahead, Jesse.
Yeah, I don't know if I should go last. I don't really have anything that good to say about you.
You can save the roast is supposed to be after we adjourn.
No, I do want to say, yeah, we met at a council meeting on a Quadra Island beach fire. The technology of the day was Yellow Pages, and to think about when I met you that time, and then to running to become mayor, and just being so excited for you, and really that legacy goes back to your predecessor, help me out, Rob Hutchins, and, you know, from when I was in high school in Ladysmith. And, you know, I've had maybe a closer vantage point than many, just being in Saltaire, and the things you've gone through over the last few years, and all the meaningful work that you've done for your community, you know, looking through your filter of, you know, your values and your morals, and always sort of using that as your compass. You know, it's a big loss for Ladysmith. It's a big loss for the CVRD. You've been somebody that I've looked to, and out of the corner of my eye, to sort of model myself after as much as possible. So, yeah, best of luck in your next phase of what you're going to be doing, and just thank you for everything you've done for Ladysmith and for the CVRD.
Thanks, Jesse. Nobody left on that side I want to hear from. I thought Tech would have some choice words, but anyone else? I'm happy for us to go into closed and we can have more conversations, but after that. But go ahead, Hillary.
I'd love to contribute to the Love Fest. And I am so impressed with the younger directors/mayors, except for Tim around the table, that he's not on the younger side, but I can't believe how you can, and this goes for Rob as well, how you can maintain so much and articulate so well, keep decorum in this room, and you're a good coach. There are times when some of us need to be reminded of decorum and process. So as a newer director, on the aged side, it's nice to have people that have such a good command of what's going on and able to articulate it so effectively. So I know you're going to go on to bigger and better things, and we're going to miss you. But thanks for being a good coach.
Appreciate that, Hillary. And I would say that sometimes I need a little lesson in decorum and process. So we all have our good days and bad days, but thank you for that. Karen?
Well, I admire so many things about you, and I think I spoke to you about them at the UBCM conference. And I would say this is not the start of a new chapter, but a whole new book. And I really do wish you so much luck and happiness as you go on. One of the things I've really admired about you is the way you keep your emotions close to the surface, and the things that you're passionate about and that you love and that touch your heart, you bring out into the open. They're near you all the time, and you haven't become jaded or cynical. It doesn't look like you have anyway. So I just want to say I'm grateful for that in a leader, and I'm really sad that I'll never hear Sandstorm again.
I'll phone you and play it at like 3 o'clock in the morning. Thanks, Karen. I really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. Allison?
Yeah, Aaron, I concur completely with Karen, and I would say that I've been most appreciative of your passion for water and the watershed issues that we have, and I'm going to miss you on that front, because that was a huge part of my focus, and your leadership's been great.
Thank you. I will say that I'm hopeful that I'll still find a way to keep involved in the watershed work. So I'll keep bugging Oliver until he lets me come at least as his sidekick on some of that work. So, Barry, you want to say something? Director Marcotte.
Yes, for Ben, he really he wanted to be here, but other things came up, and he wants to wish you all the best, and that, I'll keep that quick. For me, I wish you to have lots of fun, enjoy yourself, no matter what you're doing. I know it's going to go well. Good luck, Aaron.
Thank you very much. Michelle?
Oh, there's just so many things that I could say. Aaron and I have been, could you turn off your mic? Can I start with that? Aaron and I have been at this a long time together, and we have been through a lot of ups and a lot of downs. And in the first few years that I wasn't on the CVRD, I was a counselor then, but I did get to see you at a lot of different functions and events. And I think one of the things that I witnessed the most about you is your willingness to continue to grow as a human being and as a leader. Even when we went through the pandemic, we had a leadership team, as most of you know, and we relied so heavily on each other. And I think that that's when we really actually began to know each other in a different way. And we fought sometimes about really, tense and very important things. But what I appreciated was that as mad as you would get at me sometimes, and as mad as I would get at you sometimes, that we would always find a way to come out what was best for the community and what was best for the people around us. And I appreciate how you stood strong in places where leaders needed to stand strong, even when they were maybe areas that you weren't that familiar with, but you were open to learning more. And it was, we had some hard times. And I just have appreciated you so much, because through all of that, we've built trust, and that's a hard thing to build around these tables. And sometimes to build it, you go through stages where it feels like it can be broken, but it's repaired stronger than it ever was before, because of being able to have open, hard conversations. And we've laughed a lot, and we've joked a lot, and we've complained a lot, and I am really going to miss you. You've definitely become, one of the closest people to me in all of this, because of all the hard times we've gone together, but equally all of the amazing times we've gone. So thank you for everything, and I'm so happy for you, and sad for all of us. But so happy for you on this next step. So, and thank you for everything you've given to all of us and to all of our communities.
Thank you. I will say our relationship got along easier when I finally realized you're right about most things. So it's my turn, and I am going to keep it shorter, else I'll just break down, and because it's really hard. I think you said it pretty well. The most rewarding part for me is recognizing that I have grown a lot. And those, I can remember specific conversations during the pandemic and how resistive I was to certain things that I don't know, I feel like I found a way to align my sort of strategic, practical, cynical mind with my values better over the last few years. Breathe for a sec. I'm sure glad Tech didn't talk, because I just got mad. No, I joke, but I give Jesse a hard time, I give Tech a hard time, but they know I love them. And that's the really cool thing about being in this role, whether it's with my council or all of you, is there's so many different perspectives. And I think the most rewarding thing for me is to be able to understand them and see a part of myself in all those different perspectives. I share the same frustrations as Tech does, as Chris does sometimes, and although it might seem that we're on opposite sides of an issue or different sides of these tables, the reality is that we actually fundamentally want the same things, and we just see it from a different angle. And to be fair, I truly believe that it's a combination of those perspectives that'll actually get us to the solutions that we need. I think about homelessness and street disorder, and it's always really real for me that the lived experience of someone on the streets who is unhoused, those who are struggling with addiction or mental health issues, is a living hell that none of us can truly appreciate. At the same time, I know what it's like to be with your child on the street and see somebody being revived from an overdose and how traumatic that is. So these things are not mutually exclusive. They're actually one and the same. And I think that if I could leave anything, is that there are less and less of us every day trying to bridge that gap between those perspectives. And I think that at every level of politics, at every level of public discourse, we would be so much better served if we could try and find a way to rush to the middle together than to rush to the margins apart, right? because the solutions are actually a combination of those things. And I see there's still a few people, Rob and I actually had this conversation, the center is the loneliest place to be these days. When I started, I was a progressive. And somehow over the number of years that I was involved in local government, what I thought was a pretty progressive but pragmatic position on most things became a lonelier and lonelier place to be until you're standing in the middle of a ballroom and you've got nobody to dance with because the progressives are over here vilifying the conservatives, and I'm overgeneralizing, but our political discourse is pushed to the margins where it's us and thems all the time. And for me, that's the biggest struggle. I said this last night at my council, the more that we take personal attacks at people we don't see eye to eye with, the further apart we get from the solutions that we need to find. And I truly fundamentally believe that. We have we have elections coming up provincially, and there's nobody in the discourse who's not vilifying the other. And I think that when what I would have considered my people, right, my tribe of politicos began to use the same separating language as the people that I felt in conflict with, the further and further we became apart. That during the pandemic, we all started referring to each other of different political viewpoints as them and theys and others. And that goes back to stigma and racism and you know, homophobia, and all of those things are always the us and theming of the people that we live with, that we surround ourselves. And then we'll go to a park and we'll see each other and we won't talk about those things, and we'll find out that we're actually all really lovely people, right? That are just trying to have the same beautiful lived experience. So, you know, I'm stepping out because, to be fair, I don't love this like I used to. But I'm not leaving because I wasn't willing to stay in the fight, or I wasn't willing to still have these difficult conversations. It's just that opportunities come from time to time in your life, and you'd be a fool not to take them and grasp them. And that's the opportunity that I have now. You know, when I started on the process, I thought it was something planning for my future, that I'd made the decision not to continue in politics, that 12 years of someone's life is enough time in public service when you're looking at the fact that you won't be able to retire in 15 years when you're supposed to, because you haven't, you know, you've made sacrifices in your personal life for what you feel are public good. But a big part of that for me was the feeling that less and less people, and it doesn't matter what political stripe you are, appreciate the people that sit in these chairs. That every single one of us at this table could be doing better for ourselves and our families by not sitting in these seats. And so I have the greatest degree of respect for everyone who sits here, because you're making sacrifices. Your families are making sacrifices. And the general public, especially those who are the most vocal in their attacks on the people that sit and criticize every decisions, are not the ones willing to make those sacrifices for the greater good of their communities. So as I kind of have had this month to contemplate my transition and kind of close this book, and I said that too, Karen, this doesn't feel like a new chapter. It feels like the third book in the trilogy of my life. And hopefully this one's like, yay, Aaron, right? Because to be fair, the middle one's been a lot, right? And for half of that middle book, I think, has been focused on community service at the expense of my family and myself and my fiscal and mental health at times, right? But the reality is that I think that if we could all do one thing differently, it would just to add that little bit about how we're all actually trying to solve the same problems together. And if we ask each other, what are our desired outcomes, not how are we going to get there, but what do we want, maybe we could find that we're actually working from a common ground more often, right? That I don't think that any one of us who wants to see every person on the street housed isn't just as worried about street disorder as we are about the terrible life experience that these people are having. So I might be brought to tears by hearing the stories from people who've gone into the village and had their lives changed for the better. But I also think about the family that doesn't see that person suffering on the street and feel that trauma as well, right? So we're all working for the same outcomes. And I think that maybe sometimes in our beliefs or the facts that we think we know, the truths that are inevitably absolute to ourselves, that maybe actually the gray areas are where the solutions are. that maybe those in-betweens are hardline positions that we form are actually where the solutions will be found. So I just encourage everybody to be a little kinder and gently to your opponents. And I really encourage people in the public to be kinder and gentler to the people that serve, to go at it from curiosity. That's one thing that I learned, because if you're really good at selling or debating your point and you can win, often it's easy to fall into that trap. But when you're curious and you ask really genuine questions, you'll often find that maybe that the people who you think are your opponents are actually your allies. So I ask people in the communities to actually take that stance. Stay off your social media echo chambers a little bit in the comment section, and maybe reach out with genuine curiosity and ask the people who sit in these chairs, what are you trying to do? Not in a passive aggressive way, in a genuine way. Like, what are you trying to achieve? And tell me why you think this is the right path, instead of flaming out or attacking them or sending a hateful email. Because I can truly say that when I meet people in the community, when we're on the street corner or in the parks and you have a conversation, you find more often than not, we're actually all trying to achieve the same thing. So with that, I appreciate all of you very much. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I genuinely love you all as human beings. It's been my absolute honor and privilege to serve with you. And when I say that, that extends to every one of our staff team as well. More often than not, maybe even more to our staff team as well, who seem to get me. Maybe I should have joined staff a long time ago, but it's been an absolute joy to work with the talented staff at the CVRD in every department, at every level of the organization. I feel the same way about them as I do about the people that are sitting in these seats. They actually do believe that they want to do the best for the people that we all serve. So thank you, and with that, I'll ask for a motion to close the meeting under
Community charter?
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Boyd.
Motion to close the meeting under Community Charter, Part 4, Division 3, Section 90, subsections as noted. CSM 1 is the closed session board minutes of September 11th, 2024. CSSR 1, acquisition, disposition, expropriation, of land and improvements. 91E, and negotiations and related discussions. K.
Moved by Director Segal, seconded by Director Vomaka, or we waving goodbye? That'll work. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed? We are closed. Thank you and have a great